Oh, so
That's
much
as good
better.
as it's getting position-wise.
So much better.
Okay, so yes. What was I reading? Yes. Sylvan had amazing news, which is so cool. Congrats on being accepted by your parents-in-law. Marcus says, I got 11 hours of sleep, so I'm better now.
Wow.
After I
Oh
signed
my
my
goodness.
1-year contract, I get another job offer, so I might go back to the grind with 3
What?
That's a lot.
Maku, why?
Stop.
3 is too much.
Why do you do this to
I'm happy
yourself?
for you, but 3 is too much.
You
3
need
is
some
too much,
time
sir.
to chill.
Let's see. Celeste says...
How are you gonna have time to stream?
Yeah, exactly. Celeste says, it has been very good. I've been getting ready for my driving test. Ooh, nice. I've also been doing the whole driving test thing recently. I didn't actually take it because I didn't have time when I was in the States, but I'll most definitely take it the next time I go back in November. But I practiced and I feel like I can drive now. So that's cool.
Wow.
Let's see. Esther, studying languages and doing an online major in English. I'm excited because I didn't know when I would start doing something like this. Esther,
Ooh,
congratulations!
that's really nice.
We're kind of on the same wavelength because I'm also doing an online degree at the moment. Hey!
This is nice.
Kyber, moving flag. Ooh, do we have moving flag? I guess we do. Cool.
What?
I don't know.
Oh, the flag's animated?
I guess so.
I don't even know.
We don't know.
I know. I guess it's because I
Very
was
cool.
moving them. I was moving them.
Oh.
around.
I see, I see. Very cool, very cool. So today's live stream, if you didn't see the title, but you probably did, is in celebration of back to school season. It's back to school season for most people, not everybody. There's also some people who are working, but still, it's
If you go to school,
the
it's
feeling of
season.
back to school season, you know. So it is the topic is studying language on your own versus at school. And actually there are lots of big differences with how you study with a teacher and how you study at home. And we tend to also feel like, okay, if I'm studying with a teacher, the teacher will do everything, so I don't actually need to figure out how to study. But that is not the right way to think about it, if you ask me at least. I think that's very much it's a bit too reductionist, and you will end up feeling a bit like, you know, like if you go into any environment, any new environment, without any goals, without any game plan, then it's going to be difficult to excel and especially get what you want out of the whole experience. So we're gonna talk about the differences today and also our experiences, as usual, how these live streams go. And you guys can also leave us questions down below, or thoughts about the topic as well. I'd love to hear what your experiences are with studying at school versus studying by yourself. And this doesn't have to be language necessarily, it could be a lot of different subjects. Yeah, let us know. Elmo, what do you think about the topic?
I think it's an interesting topic because, or rather, I think it's a very polarizing topic, because there are a lot of people who study languages, but many of them are completely dependent on teachers or at very least tutors in doing so. They don't really learn languages by themselves. I think in fact, I think we're the minority, probably. So I think it's a bit of a polarizing question, but an interesting one nonetheless, or because of that. Because we are all like really big self-studiers. We're not much for a classroom learning experience, I think, in general. At least not for languages. Sorry if I'm stepping on anybody's toes. So yes, I don't like it personally, because I like to be sort of in control of sort of the way I learn, and like the materials I'm using, and also like how I learn. So I don't want to cram like weekly like sheets of just random words in this connection or otherwise, you know, kind of thing. So I don't really have much experience learning a language in classroom, except, well, I since middle school, basically. Yeah. So I have about 4 or 5 years of classroom learning experience. Of course, I'm dumb because I'm not counting English as a language, because why would I? Yeah, no, I love English class though. English class was fun, but that's also just because I was interested in the subject, and sort of did everything on my own anyway. Didn't really do anything in class, you know, apart from get A's. Anyway.
Yeah, well, I think the thing is that it highly depends, because I think that a classroom can be a very positive space and you can learn a lot from the classroom experience, and also at a more accelerated rate than you can learn at home. But I think that the approach, especially if you're someone who does better with self-direction, is going to have to be very, like, you have to think about it. You can't just go in. There's also like the choice of what to focus on, because a teacher is doing something with more breadth, more like they're going to be hitting things like using methods that work for people across the board, or trying to find methods that work for people across the board, which means that you have to find a space that's a bit more specific within that, or try to you have to attempt to pick and choose from what the teacher is teaching, and apply that to yourself in a way that works best. So for me, I feel like I now know how I study pretty well, because I've tried the classroom experience and the self-study experience several times. So when I go into a classroom, I can kind of tell when a teacher gives me a homework assignment and it's not going to help me at all, or if a teacher gives me a homework assignment and I think it's going to help me a lot. I can usually tell between those and then prioritize one, spend more time on the one that I know is going to work really well for me, and spend a little less energy on the ones that I don't think are going to work for me. What do you think, Anna?
Yeah, I agree with you guys. I think, first of all, the thing that I want to say is like, when you start learning a language, it's definitely interesting because you don't know many techniques for studying or anything, and at least the majority of people that are not English speakers start to learn languages very, very young. I'm talking elementary school. So at that time, of course, not only you don't know how to learn language, you don't really know anything about the topic really. So for me, like, my experience has been that, like, those years I spent being like just passively getting the techniques and the exercises that my teachers would like give me. I spent those years kind of like accumulating knowledge about how learning a language works, and I still remember some of the exercises that I used to do when I was literally like 8 or 9, and that means that like those kind of things literally like engraved into my brain, so it means that it's something that works for me. And then later, when you get to like the teenage years, I guess language learning becomes more of a, for at least I didn't really feel the call of learning a language at the time, because there's so much learning that is going on that you're like, I don't know if like you just do what people tell you to do and that's it in a way. So I didn't have like any way to like try to study on my own, and instead I would feel that like university study, I studied language at university, and like I would say that university learning, since there were so many people in my course, it's kind of like a self like studying on your own kind of experience, because you attend lessons, lectures, and there's also of course like some lectures are interactive, so you need to speak, or you need to, you know, answer the questions or write stuff, of course, but in a way there's no direct contact that much with the teacher, not as much as like in high school in a way. So that was my first kind of experience in like developing a method of my own, because at one point like you realize that if you don't study, like if you don't find a method, you're not gonna pass exams. So that was my waking call, being like, yo, you need to figure out how to do this for yourself. And then from there, like experimenting like this, for me it has been like, just now I feel so much more comfortable in studying by myself, because I know what I like, I know what works in a way. And also studying as a hobby in a way, because it's not part of my official studies right now, or because of my job or anything. Studying as a side passion project, let's say. Of course, like, I don't think I could keep up with kind of like a school rhythm of learning. So it's nice also to have the freedom of that, you know. So this is also a nice point, I think. Like, how much, this is a question, like, how where does the feeling of freedom ends and like the slacking off starts, right? So there's another thing.
Right.
Yeah.
That's a good one. Yeah.
So,
Definitely true. I think there was something that you said earlier about like the getting into the feeling of just doing what you are told to do. And depending on where you do the class, I mean, it differs with every teacher, even within a school. You know, so it depending on your specific experience would change, but it's very easy for people to actually just choose to do that, and doing that is the killer. Because whether you are doing it in language school, or you're doing it in university, or you're doing it in middle school or high school, it's the same. If you just expect to follow the teacher's directions and then become fluent in a language, most likely it's not going to happen for you, unless the teacher is actually magic, which is like 0.1% of teachers, you know, that have magic that can teach you without the extra intrinsic motivation. And so for us who like languages, we already know that we're interested, we want things to happen. Actually, spending a little time removed from the class will also prove to you and show to you that you can study on your own, and also now how can I best position myself to absorb and learn from the teacher, use what the teacher is doing, but then also use what I know works already, which is the most important part. And I mean, personally, I used to only like self-studying because I didn't experience the greatest classes at certain point. But later on, I realized that there's a great power in a teacher and a tutor, actually. And that especially when you are lazy, right? It's amazing to have that kind of accountability, and as well somebody who understands you as a learner, because sometimes you don't understand you as a learner. And like conversing with the teacher can help you to produce a better outcome in that sense. And so like I've had maybe 2 to 3 really great language teachers in my time, and those 2 to 3 language teachers, I actually learned a lot about how I study from them, because they came with fresh new ideas about how to do stuff, and I may have known how to do it some way before, but now I have a new and a whole nother layered experience to add to my experience. So I guess the key aspect of this whole on your own versus a school is actually still centering yourself in whatever situation you may be in. So one is not necessarily better than the other, because you can self-study while being in a class too. So it's not really like that one is better than the other, but that you are paying attention to how you learn and how you're processing that, and how you're going to leverage what you have.
That's a good point. I'm gonna say some more about it later. I just wanted to read what Celeste wrote. And they wrote, having a teacher who loves the language or loves teaching is very important, so learning doesn't become a chore, even for those students who don't like learning in a class. I definitely agree, because well, definitely if you're learning in a class, there's always gonna be the people that don't care and the people that are lazy, you know, or like don't really want, or like the people that are like, I just do what I'm told, or even not that, you know. And instead there are gonna be people that want to, you know, deepen the knowledge and ask questions and you know, get the best of they can. But I guess this is not only language learning, this could be anything. So
True.
I think the problem with that is like maybe like some teachers would have done a better job if they had a class with like everybody like interested in what they had to teach. I feel like many of my bad teacher experiences were actually bad classes experiences. Because the group was not like collaborating with the teaching method, or like they just didn't care. So there's also that. I would say that in adult life it's way harder to find a class where that happens. In early like school, secondary school, high school,
People want to be cool.
yeah, people are like
and not care.
Yeah.
It's crazy because you think that people like at least would be the bare minimum or something, but instead like sometimes you find disturbers, like people that literally how to say, like not only not paying attention but disturb the lesson for everybody. And that happened to me, and I was so sad. Like I have this bad memory of my French lessons in middle school because the class literally didn't care, and it was the saddest thing ever because I was so excited about learning French, and I struggled with picking it up later because of this as well, because there's a little bit of trauma also, I guess.
Yeah.
Fortunately, I had a very, very nice experience with English very early on. When I was in elementary school, my teacher, for the first time in my life, my teacher actually like gave us like blank papers and was like, okay, so this is what we need to write here. Like today we're gonna write the names of the seasons in English, and so just write the names of the season and draw whatever you want around it or something like that. And it was like so good for the age that I was like, I just wanted to be creative and do stuff, and it was just like so spot on. And I feel like I don't have that notebook anymore, unfortunately, but we were doing all these beautiful pages and they were all personalized. And that also, I think that's why I like to take notes when I like write down and draw and do fun stuff with colors when I learn languages. And I think like it's good to have that input, because if I didn't have that, maybe I would discover only very, very late on that I like to learn using this kind of methods, right? So that's a good thing. And I see that people are writing other comments, so I'm gonna read out loud. Mak-chan is say, during my very first Japanese classes on my studies, they told us, we won't teach you Japanese here. If you want to actually learn language, then you should also go to additional Japanese course. All right.
What?
That is kind of
how
weird.
does that work?
Maybe like speaking, you know, like they're like, no, this is just the basis. Like you're not actually learning Japanese. You're learning,
Yeah.
That's so sad.
I mean, to be fair, I had like literally 5 different classes of Japanese when I was at university, because we had grammar with an Italian teacher, and then the other ones were grammar exercises with a Japanese teacher, speaking with a Japanese teacher, kanji lesson with a Japanese teacher, and writing like essays and stuff like that with another Japanese teacher. So I kind of get it, like you cannot learn the whole Japanese thing with only one course, especially if it's like, I don't know, 3 months, 6 months, a semester or whatever. So I get it to a degree.
No, of course.
I think it's just that like maybe they don't introduce it in a way that makes you want to continue in the class. They don't introduce it in a way that gives you that positive feeling. It becomes work, if you break it up in that way. And I remember also thinking that with Japanese a lot, because I think the textbooks tend to be shaped that way as well. You're learning counters before you even know how to say taberu, like which is really annoying when those details actually matter much later on in speaking and writing Japanese, actually. Right? So just the structure of certain classes, and this kind of pertains to the line, because the other thing is that schools often try to teach you academic language proficiency, which is very different actually from like a speaking language proficiency. So if you go into an academic class and you're hoping for something completely different, then you should adjust your expectations and understand why they're teaching the way they're teaching. You know?
Yeah. It would be amazing to see colloquial language classes.
Yeah.
That would be really cool.
I mean, we had
Pretty
like
sure they
just a
have them.
speaking.
Probably something.
We had like a speaking, just like speaking Japanese class, and it was very scary. It was everybody was so scared because literally we didn't have any books. The teacher was just like, okay, this is on the you know, on the what is it called, like on the whiteboard, speak about it in Japanese or something like that. Or like we had like role plays and stuff and we had to speak, and it was so scary all the time. But I feel like if I didn't have that, how would I ever like got the confidence to even like start speaking? So I guess it's very,
that's another thing that really depends on who you are as a person, because if you know that you're the kind of person that finds it very difficult to get out of their comfort zone, like you consistently prove to yourself that you can't do it on your own, or you're not the greatest doing it on your own, especially if you think that language is a hobby, but you want to be able to speak one day, or you want to be able to read that novel one day, then maybe you need that help of an intensive course where your grades depend on it to push you to be really stressed, maybe even cry one night, and then overcome your fear. Because like for me, I would say I'm not that person, you know? So like if I was in a class like Anna is talking about, that I would love that class. I would probably be like butchering and jumping up and down the whole class, you know? That sounds like right up my alley. But
me too.
But like as Anna said, it can be extremely nerve-wracking, that space of I don't know. So I think for the majority of people, actually, that gray area in language, the soft skills, so not the hard skills, not the learning the actual nitty-gritty of the language, but the soft skills of being able to conduct yourself in a space where you don't have all the answers pre-memorized, is actually the difficult part. And if you get a class that can help you to push you into that space, it's really good, which I find that universities often do. They often put you in that space, because even if it's reading, so not only talking about speaking, like for me, I don't like to read things that are super, I just don't like to read things when they're not in English. I get very stressed out, and I have to take a lot of time. Worse if it's something that is like a more academic or a news article. I hardly ever push myself to do those kind of things. But school is like, okay, so by next week read 8 articles, and you're like, please help. You know, but after you do that, you probably would never have been able, or I would probably have never have been able to sharpen that skill in a reasonable amount of time without like some serious, okay, I'm gonna chain myself to the bed until I read 8 articles. You know?
I get it.
Yeah.
No, I used to have a lot of trouble, like confidence issues when it came to speaking English even.
Well, every time I learn a new language, honestly, probably it's a weak point of mine, but like, of course you're gonna have that gap that you're like, I want to be able to say it, but I'm not sure. So it's like,
No, I remember being like 6 years old on holiday with my parents and not being able to like order ice cream to the room. I literally just had to walk up to the register and say the room number, but I couldn't even do that. I was like too scared. It was too much.
Well, you were 6 years old though, maybe.
But I mean, starting from there. So you know, it's a very like it's a tall hurdle to like get over. So you start with that kind of start with ordering ice cream and work your way up to actually, and then
so
after a while you're actually able to like communicate and actually like say what you're actually thinking, even if it's grammatically incorrect. You can still sort of like you can get across your meaning to another person and they will understand you.
Yeah, and I will say one thing and then read the comments, because I see a lot of people typing down there. It's just great. But I have a similar issue, but it's not that I'm afraid to say something wrong. I'm afraid to not sound native. I hate the feeling of not sounding native.
Oh yes. No, that's it. It's not sounding wrong. It's not something not
It's
native.
like some people actually really don't like being wrong. I don't care about being wrong, but I want to sound right while
Yeah.
being wrong.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah.
Like, and sometimes it's like if I don't have that voice, if I don't get the voice of it yet, then I feel very uncomfortable. And so I remember, like, there's a phrase in Swedish when you want to say, I would like to have. And so this is like, grammar is actually kind of more advanced, right? It's not I want, it's I would like to have something. So it feels a bit, but in English I could say it in any speed, like I would like to have, I can kind of say it slowly. But in Swedish, every single time the Swede goes jag skulle vilja ha, and they say it really really fast, jag skulle vilja ha, and it just like
Och så
goes,
skulle jag vilja ha.
yeah, jag skulle vilja ha yeah, like this. Jag skulle vilja ha en glass, tack. And it's like so crazy like this, which actually they don't do for most things. Usually they have like a rhythm that breaks up the words, but this one thing is like bolted every single time. And
Well,
so
it's like, because you know, you're standing in a queue and there are people behind you and they're waiting, and the staff is probably annoyed at you because you're there in their shop buying stuff.
so you can hear the pressure already, right? So I was going up to the talk, I wanted to order some tacos, and I was like, okay, I need to say it. So I was like, jag skulle vilja ha, and I said it like this, and they were like, you okay, man? They switched it to English, like, yeah, okay. And I was like, damn, I failed. They switched it to English.
Or just come to Italy.
Anyway,
just come to Italy where we just say what we want. We don't even say anything before.
Yes, okay, let me say. So, Jazz said, from my experience, you are usually expected to self-study outside of the classroom, as the hours during class aren't enough for you to really progress and take in the language, which is correct.
This is true.
Actually, every class does say that this class is actually, say, like 12 hours a week or something like that a week, and we never listen, and we're like, psh, it's 2 hours a week, what are you talking about? 12.
Who's got time for that?
Who's got time for 12? So that's a good point as well. And Maki says, what was strange is to actually get past the Japanese third years, we had to get N5 by their exam or the real JLPT. Interesting.
Ooh.
It just says, well, that reminds me, when I took my advanced Japanese during undergrad in the US, my teacher was Italian.
Oh,
Cute.
that's interesting.
Wow.
There's
Cute.
also like, take a look at the courses. Can I say something? Because in 3 years I got N2, so I guess like you can find better. And I guess even if you like study in Japan it's easier because you're in the country. But even like in the university, in the university environment, Venice University brings you to N2 in 3 years, while other universities, I don't know, they have it in Naples, I guess, it gets you to like N3 maximum in 3 years. So like also maybe take a look at that, because some universities or schools are more like intensive, some others are more like, yeah, you know, I will teach you the basis, and you know, and you feel like you're not progressing.
Yeah, exactly. I'm on the side of, if you're going to take courses, you might as well take intensive courses. That is probably highly controversial, but I just feel like
I would die
because
I would die.
Yeah, but
No, I
mean,
agree.
Think about it. When you do a language course, right? Like half the time when you do a language course, it's not really like a part of your degree. If it's a part of your degree, I wouldn't do the intensive course. But if it's not a part of your degree, I would do the intensive course. 2-3 reasons. First reason is that the grades don't actually matter. Why? Because it's not a part of your degree. If you get shitty grades, but you learn a lot during that time, the point is that you learned a lot during that time, and then maybe you can just supplement with 1 extra semester and take the exam, and then you have the exam and nobody has to know about your shitty grades, right? The second reason is that it costs a lot of money to do a course, right? So if you're going to do it, you try to get the bang for your buck and do it like crazy speed. And then third reason is that I would say, because like if you take a long time to do it, then you can't process the other thing. Like you have a lot of other things going on, especially if you're not in the country. If you're in the country, maybe it'll like digest quite easily. But if you spend a lot of time in somewhere that is not the country, you can actually just like learn for what you did for the exam and then forget what you did that year and go into the second year. And so I feel that it doesn't push you to build the skills in a like compact amount of time in the way that the intensive one does. So not that I'm saying it isn't difficult, but I feel like if you're gonna do it, if you're revving up to do it, you might as well do the intensive
Yeah,
course.
I mean, I get that.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. And this
But
like
I used to have.
Get-
Oh no, sorry. I just
Sorry,
wanted to because you mentioned.
Do it,
Sorry,
Go.
sorry. I'll be quiet.
no,
No,
it's
no,
okay.
I'm joking.
There's delay. I'm sorry.
No. Yeah, no, it's fine. Ray, you said something about the thingy there that was. God damn it! I hate my brain. Why do I not have any attention span? This is terrible.
Same.
We can
No, but the thing where like you forget sort of what you did last time, or you can't forget about it kind of thing.
Yeah.
That was my problem with like any subject in school. Like you come back after
Yeah.
the summer holidays and you don't remember anything. It's like starting from scratch.
Yeah.
And yet I'm supposed to have retained this knowledge. How?
Right, exactly. So depending, I
Yeah.
feel like the less intensive courses, they usually don't expect you to be able to do a certain thing with the knowledge that you get. You're just given the knowledge and then you show that you know it, but you don't necessarily put through like, can you actually use these words in a sentence? Are you able to write an essay? You're not given that aspect until much later. So what you learn in the beginning, the foundation is kind of lost because they didn't force it to be like stuck in your hearts. So yeah.
I want
don't know,
to
what's
say
really saying there?
something that you can transform any course into an intensive course if you do your job at home by yourself in a way. So I would say like even if you do one lesson per week and the rest of the time you just like are consistent with like studying or you're watching TV shows or reading books or using Hello Talk and talking with natives or something, like if you're keeping exercised the language and like learning by yourself outside the course, definitely like that becomes kind of like an intensive course by yourself. I guess that's kind of like middle ground. And it's like it's the same way that some people like would study by themselves and then like take italki lessons like once a week to just keep like ask questions about what they learned and stuff. And I guess that's like kind of like a middle way between studying in school and on your own, and I think it's probably like very effective for many people. I wanted to read some messages because many people are saying stuff and it's nice.
Yes, we picked a good topic.
Yes, Just Chan. Oh, that reminds me. When I took advanced Japanese during my undergrad in the US, my teacher was sorry, you read this one.
You read that one.
Excuse me.
Yes.
I thought you were saying it about yourself, and I was like, oh, you did actually.
No.
Sorry about that. Esther said, in Brazil, the teachers will only teach grammar. I've never encountered a teacher where they would try to make us practice and speak the language. It's true also in Italy, especially like in high school. In high school, it's like that because it's the easiest thing to do when you have large classes, I guess.
Yeah, that's true.
So still, like, it's not impossible. I feel that the problem with
they could do better.
Yeah, they could do better, but I also feel like we were talking earlier about people that don't really care and they have to study it anyways. Like, at least if you're in university, even if you have a super large class, you can still do these kind of things because everybody's gonna pay attention, right? If somebody's not gonna pay attention, they can leave. They cannot go to university, you know? I understand a little bit of
you can just drop the class.
I understand the pressure of high school, especially teachers, because teenagers can be the devil.
That's true.
They can really be terrible.
It's true.
And Makchan said, so when I get on my own and fight and went to the teacher, she looked on it and was like, too low score doesn't count. Well, that's just, don't deal with these people, I guess. What the heck?
Wait, so you weren't allowed to take the course, or did you have to take the test again, Maku?
Yeah, Maku-chan, just don't contact this person ever again. I think
different school. Switch.
Swipe
left.
Just move to the other side of the country so that you can change school.
I'm jumping, but just was saying, I was the same. By 3 years during my undergrad, me and other students were able to get N2. So same. Just Jazz is better than me because I think her job involves like translating, so I guess that's also a way that you keep like your, especially vocabulary, like, amount of vocabulary that you know, very very wide and diversified. Instead, I forget all the words all the time. But
Jess, why have I never spoken Japanese with you ever? I'm sad.
no, I have.
Never.
Come over
No, but
to
I said I have.
listen. I
What
am.
about
At the-
movie night?
でもあまり喋んないじゃん。
Yeah, sabeta. I feel like we talked in Japanese after the Ghibli movie, like for a bit before. I feel like we did that. I have some memory of this.
There's usually like a lot. The Korean one is usually very animated, but
Yeah.
You
I
should-
remember
You
us speaking
should
Japanese.
come over to my streams because we speak in Japanese a lot. Me and Jess. Right, Jess, Chan, we are pals.
Nice.
Japanese pals. Esther was saying, I've learned English by myself, later with a teacher, but all the other languages I have self-studies. That's impressive. Wow. I am proud of you.
That's amazing.
Good job,
That's
Esther.
amazing, for real. And Celeste is saying, where I live, the norm is to teach English and French, but not all likes French. It is very new courses of Asian languages. There are very new courses of Asian languages, even when we have Chinese people living here for decades. Oh yeah, decades. Yeah, they're starting having like Asian languages courses in Italy as well. Incredibly, of course, after I finished high school, they started doing these kind of things, which is kind of sad.
Yeah.
But I think it's good in a way, because I feel like people to like learn a language like that, they need to want to do it, even if it's high school, right? So
when I was in high school, there was Chinese available in the curriculum, but you couldn't pick Japanese. I was very pissed about that. And of course, I didn't do Chinese because at the time I had no interest in Chinese.
Yeah, I'm just looking. Jess says, yeah, I remember that too. After Castle in the Sky, I think.
Well, I wasn't
Elmo's
saying.
always saying these things.
but,
I don't remember.
And that's we were talking about this because we went on a holiday for 1 month together, and like so many times something had happened and Elmo was like, this has never happened in my entire life, and I was like, how can I trust you?
And every time I'm like, Rasmus, that happened last month.
I was there. I was
How
there.
am I supposed to remember?
It's alright.
Well,
it's
apparently
alright.
so was I.
Oh my
Yeah, but you're
goodness.
so quick to assume. Like, instead of thinking, you're like, ah, yes, this
No, but I
never
literally cannot
happened.
remember. I literally don't have the memory.
It's
Okay,
alright.
I also have zero memory. I'm just saying that usually I go, probably it happened, and not the opposite way around. I'm usually like, it might have happened, but I don't remember it.
But
Yeah,
don't
because
worry.
that's probably more likely.
Yeah, we're here to remind you if you forget. Don't worry.
See, Jazz remembers. That's the important part.
Yeah, right. Translating has been my lifesaver, says Jazz. Without it, I would have forgotten Japanese so long ago. I swear to God, I started teaching Italian in Japanese right now, and I'm like, I don't remember anything. I cannot speak. What the freak? And it's so good to be able to exercise the language, because I feel like sometimes words just don't come out, and I'm like, I know this word. I know that I know this word. Where is it in my mind? You know. So it's good to like find creative ways sometimes to keep the languages exercised. And yes, we're gonna speak Japanese tonight. Just promised.
Oh, nice.
Promised. And you guys should come too, so you can speak Japanese as well. Let's exercise.
Sure.
Happy Japanese.
Oh my
stream.
God. Yeah, but the texting Japanese and speaking Japanese are two things for me.
No, but it's
I don't know if I can keep up.
it's community games night, so you guys can also come over in voice chat. That's the way. We love when people speak different languages. It's nice. And Mak-chan says, I want someday to start to practice more speaking in Japanese, especially that now when JLPT is cancelled on December, there's even more time to learn, and speaking is so much out of my comfort zone. Oh, let's speak about this, because JLPT has been cancelled 2 years in a row right now, and at least in Italy. And honestly, like, I would think the way same as Maku-chan, but I know myself. So if the JLPT is cancelled, that doesn't mean that I'm gonna study more. That just means that I'm gonna wait until it's 6 months before the next JLPT and then start studying like a bitch. Sorry for the bad words, but that's like, I need the pressure of being kind of close. I know that JLPT takes long time, so it cannot be 2 weeks before. But if I wouldn't feel, I would just forget everything in the meantime if I would start now, like, very widely to study. I mean, so so I think there's also like when you're studying by yourself, maybe it's good to have goals for some things. At least, like, I still exercise Japanese in other ways, but if I want to, like, learn intensively something more, I need to have like that like language proficiency test, so I know that I'm spending money and that's like once a year or something, so I need to pass it. Kind of pressure.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of similar in the sense where, like, especially for tests, because if it's speaking, then I can study no matter when or how long. But if it's for an exam, I actually want the intensive course. So this goes back to our topic, like studying language on your own versus at school. Like, you should reserve the stuff that you like to do for on your own, and you should find people to push you to do the things that you don't like doing. Obviously you don't have to do that all the time, especially if you don't have the time, space, energy, mental space, whatever it is to do so. But if you want to improve and you have a specific goal for something, and you know that you're just not going to do that thing on your own, or it's going to be like pulling teeth to do that thing on your own, get somebody else to tell you to do it. Because I've already thought about it. Like, I see you guys studying Japanese. I have not studied Japanese since I was 16 years old. Like, I studied a little bit in university, but it was like nothing difficult at all. Like, it was a class that was very below my level, but I just needed to do it because I needed the credit, like the university credit. So I just came and took the tests and didn't come other days. But so I literally have not studied Japanese on paper since high school, right? And I don't see myself, like, I saw you guys studying Japanese and I was like, oh, I know that I should do that, but I know I'm not gonna do that. So I was like, maybe one day, next time I go to Japan, I will just do a damn intensive course and stay for a year. I'm like, it doesn't make sense. I push myself now. Look at how many languages I want to learn. Today, now is just not the time for Japanese. I'll wait until I have somebody under my ass telling me to pass JLPT.
I mean, I haven't bought a Japanese learning book in years, but because I just have like the top level books already, so they're there. The thing about it is, like, I love to write Japanese, so like putting the book down and like highlighting the things and write down the things and study, like doing the exercise, is something that makes me happy. Like, genuinely happy. So I couldn't wait to start studying for the JLPT this year before they cancelled it, because I was like, yes, finally I go back to study Japanese because I love it. And then they cancelled it, so I had to like deal with it, I guess. But it's definitely like a thing that I like to do systematically with a goal in mind, so I can just organize how I use my time. And like, having 1.5 years in front of me is just too long, and I feel like I can do something else in the meantime. So there's also that. I feel like I have enough time to dedicate to one language at a time, all the time. I tried so much this year to study more things at the same time, and it didn't work. I just didn't do anything because I felt overwhelmed. So there's also like a lot of self-discovery that goes into studying on your own, I guess. And like acceptance as well of your limits, I guess. Sometimes.
One thing that I find really interesting about self-studying is the fact that you get a chance to learn who you are or who you want to be in the language that you're learning, which if you're in a classroom setting where you have constant deadlines or reading or whatever you need to do, you don't get the time to like interact or internalize the language in that way to really like reflect on these things, I feel like. So that's something that I really appreciate about having sort of the extra space that comes with learning on your own rather than in a classroom setting.
And I think that also the stage in life really has a lot to do with it as well. It's like for me right now, I'm focusing a lot on work and building things. So I feel like it's almost like it's impossible for me to contribute mental space to thinking about intensely learning a language on my own. So instead, I would either casually learn a language by myself, or I would just do a course and have someone else dictate that to me, because my mind is constantly thinking about what I want to do career-wise. And so those periods in life also show you, because when I was in high school, I didn't care, and all I was thinking about was language. And so without the intensive course, I was able to do that. And I know that I'm able to do that now, but the amount of space that it takes me to think and plan and even just allocate in that way is not feasible now. So it's something that I think about a lot with my languages, because Swedish and Mandarin are my current goals, probably for this year and next year. I'm happy with that, because I know that at the stage that I'm in, both of these languages are upper intermediate / advanced. So I have the space to consume media and to study it kind of my pace. But the Korean and Japanese are actually too advanced for me to bother to care about studying it on my own. So I would have to just spend time later on, going to do that. So yeah, that's how I think about also these periods in life. Like Brooke says, she's preparing to do an intensive Korean course in South Korea for 2 semesters soon, starting in November if everything goes to plan. So that's a great example of something amazing that you can do for your language studies. I'm already thinking, I'm trying to plan the time, because I think not that any time is ever too late, but after 30 it becomes a little harder to get grant money or a special visa or something like that. And then after 40 it becomes even harder. So there's certain levels, because they expect, not because you can't do it, but because they expect you to be financially stable. You can pay for your own things at that age. So anyway, I've been thinking about how I want to plan things out for those different periods in life again, because I will be learning languages until I die. So I have to figure out which ones make sense, which programs at what area. So I'm already thinking way into the future, because I'm I can't study Korean now, but one day. Yeah.
No, I get it. I was also thinking, just Jan, I'm gonna study for JLPT next year as well. I am thinking that you're referring to JLPT N1, so we could be study buddies, maybe. Let's see. And keep each other accountable. We promote that
Sounds
here.
fun.
Keep each other accountable.
Sounds fun.
Yeah, sounds
Oh
fun.
yes, accountability gang. So
Yeah.
I'd actually be super excited to see what comes of your studying together, because it's also nice to just have people around you studying, so you can pick up little things from around you as well.
Yeah.
I've been using the app Toucan recently. It's kind of cool, where it just randomly translates words while you're reading on your computer into your target language.
Are
So it's just so you could be looking through Twitter, and then it'll just change a random word in a tweet to your target
That's
language,
so
so you can
cool.
learn a new word. Yeah, it's cool. I've
sorry,
been using this recently. I'm context.
Yes.
Context and words. I enjoy it. It's called Toucan for those who are curious.
Like the bird.
Like the bird.
Toucan.
Toucan.
Toucan. I'm gonna write it down so I remember. Toucan.
Yes.
Extension?
Yeah.
It's TOU. That's how it's spelled. Oh, that's cool. Alright, thank you very much for saying.
Yes, I'm enjoying it.
Learn a nuevo language while you browse. That's so cool. Oh, that's so cool. Let's try it out.
Yes, I'm
Yes.
loving it so far.
Mhm.
Does
It's fun.
does it have support for like any language?
Not any language, but there's quite a few at the moment. I think there's like 10, although some of them are in beta. So I'm
Okay.
doing, the recent ones are in beta. So I'm doing Chinese now is in beta. So every once in a while I see ones that maybe be an older word for the thing. But it's not that often, and either way it's a very like passive viewing of it anyhow. So it's it doesn't interfere as much. So it's good.
I am gonna do it.
Jazz.
Mhm.
Woo! Jazz. Yeah, I'll be doing N1. I am definitely up for an N1 study buddy.
Yes.
And
Sorry.
no, it's okay. Celeste says, I was thinking about sign language. Where I live, it is legally the second language of my country, but they don't teach it in school or high school. You have to self-study.
Oh, same here. Same here.
Mm.
Yeah, very silly. Very silly. They should, especially since the basis doesn't take us, because I think things that are tactile actually takes a little bit less effort to learn because of the fact that the brain is very connected with its tactile feature. And like that's why if when you're trying to memorize things, you should actually move your hands or create something external so that you have two input from two different senses. So I think that if they were to teach sign language, it could be like, even if they taught it like say 2 weeks every year, even if they started there, it would make a big impact because people would be able to recognize things when someone who uses sign language is speaking to them. So even if they started as small as that, it would already make a big impact. I don't know why they don't. They suck.
Yeah, no, honestly, it's so ableist.
They the teachers like at university, I remember like everybody being very uncomfortable in a way because they would like move a lot and be like, you know, okay, cheers high, like that. And I feel like it makes you uncomfortable in a way, but it's definitely a way like using your body and like doing gestures or something like about it.
I do that when I teach.
Yeah.
And people always feel awkward, but it's because, but even if you feel awkward, you will remember because
it's
you felt
true.
awkward. Like, I think it's okay because I'm the teacher, at least I will be embarrassed for you. When I used to teach like, when I used to teach Korean numbers, I used to like literally move my body in the shape of the number as I talk, because I would be teaching or make up some kind of funny thing. For example, like the first number 1 is il in Korean, so it sounds like an eel. So I'd be like il, right, like this every single time, and I would make people copy me. Of course, the student base that I had were not as serious students, like they were more hobbyists, so it takes even more effort on my part for them to remember. So I would go out of my way, but that's to say that it's even more like that's how good it is, right? Maybe if you're a serious learner, you might choose something else because it's more comfortable, but and you can still do it another way. But if you do use tactile features, actually extremely good, or any two senses, mix two senses
So
somehow.
what does tactile mean?
Physical.
Okay.
Touch.
Thank
yeah.
you.
Movement.
Sorry.
No, it's okay.
It's alright.
I'm learning.
Woo!
Because in Italian, tatto is the sense of touching, if you want to know. Tatto. I don't know what that comes from, but yes. I guess
Maybe
it's Latin.
I'm gonna look it up right now.
Uh,
Probably Latin.
Yeah, it is. By the way, I did one singular lesson in Italian Sign Language. I want to say, I just remembered that this month means to have fun.
Yep.
That's the only thing that I remember,
Aw.
other than bad words. So, so I honestly, like, that's a nice thing. I think there are so many people that are learning, like, what is it called? ASL, American Sign Language, also on our server on Gladly Global. Also, enter our Discord server. The link is down in the
if you're not
description.
in there already.
We have a community of
Do it.
language learners, and everybody is very nice and ready to help. each other, so feel free to join in, and if you have questions or anything that you want to share, you can. That's the space, the safe space for you to do that. And also we have events going on there. We have movie parties, we have community parties, and you get notified when we go live to study or for Polyglots Live. We have other kind of like webinars and stuff, so why not join the community on Discord? That's where everything cool goes on. Okay.
Correct.
So the link is down here if you're interested.
Yeah, so join or be one of those.
Yes.
Square.
Yes.
Yes.
I was
Square.
not gonna lie, Toucan sucks for Korean. No. I literally wanted to use it for Korean. I saw it for Swedish, but they don't have it yet. So Toucan, why?
Toucan. I think, but it's because I think they're trying to expand. So it's very like originally just
based?
I don't know, but originally I think it was just for Spanish and Portuguese or something like
Okay.
that. So they added a bunch of languages, so it's still in beta. So for those who do speak the language, what you should do is just turn it on, so that every time it's wrong, you click it and tell them. That's what I'm doing right now. Like, oh, this is not the more popular word for it, and it still helps because you could look at the word and you could see, do I actually know that word already? And then you could go, yes, no, is it this? Or maybe it's that. And if you don't know, you can double cross-reference with something else, right? While you're doing it, or you could just ignore it and look at what the English word is underneath
should
it and
pay
move
you
on.
as a
So it's
beta
not,
tester.
so it's kind of, I think it's cool anyway.
Yeah, they should pay you for beta testing.
Yes.
This is so interesting though. I just turned it on for
Yes.
Korean, and it's just, we help you learn 한국어. It's very nice.
Yes.
That's cool.
Yes.
I love it though. Okay.
Hee.
Thank you for this. It's always nice. There's so many tools around. I swear to God, I struggle to keep up.
Yes.
I now
Yes.
read
Same.
hashtag #langtweet. No, what is it called? Yeah, langtivity. Whatever
Lang
you
Twitter.
call it. Lang Twitter.
Lang Twitter.
Um,
Lang Twitter.
on Twitter, like in the morning, and there are so many people using so many different things, application, websites, etc. And it's just like never ending. So it's nice to know new things and see if they work for you. Yes, that's what I was
Yes.
thinking.
Yes.
Definitely.
So maybe we should start rounding off now.
It seems
Yes,
like a nice
so-
idea.
It's a nice spot. I think we talked about a lot of gems today. The takeaway from today's conversation is that whether you're studying by yourself or you're studying in class, that you still have to be proactive and also think about how you study in whatever setting, and that you can thrive and improve in both settings in different ways. So it's always great to consider what your goals are and what you are being offered in every different experience. We also talked about a bunch of other different things, just little methods and our ideas towards, studying language as usual, how it goes here. So we have this live stream every month, usually
Yes.
the first Saturday of each month. Sometimes the second, but mostly the first. But you can get those notifications and updates on either our Instagram or on our Discord channel.
And also on Twitter.
Notification Discord.
We
thing.
have
and Twitter.
We have
yes.
Twitter. Follow
Oh,
Twitter.
We have
Here, it's
so
down
we don't
here.
we don't do the Twitter, but someone else does the Twitter, and they're always like, "Well, you didn't mention Twitter." I was like,
I did
Sorry.
today. I did. Today I mentioned
Yes.
Twitter.
Today we did it. Woo! Go Anna. So, you can find us all over the internet. We love talking about languages, and we love talking about languages with you. So if you have a friend who also loves languages, and you know that they would enjoy watching these streams, then what you should do is copy the link and send it to your friend right now and just say, hey, did you miss this? You know, this is cool. We get to hang out and chill with other language learners. You should go ahead and tell them that to
And
help
tell them
this.
to join the Discord.
Yes, as to help.
You should both you and your friend join Discord.
Yes,
Yeah.
so that's we can grow together and also share our love for languages in a healthy and happy and supportive space, which is not too often found on these interwebs. So yeah, without further ado, I'll say thank you and goodbye, and just remember to check out anything you may have forgotten in the description box below.
Thank you,
And
everybody. Sorry.
Thank you. This will also be saved so you can watch it later, right?
Definitely.
Yes.
Yes. So
Yeah. So
Yes.
don't worry. If you like, if we touched on something you were interested in, then you can always go back and find
Yes,
it.
good addition.
thank you, everybody, for joining today, and we'll
Yes,
see
thank you.
around on the internet. Bye bye.
Bye.